Oh my god. Stop it. That is so gruesome. I hate that. I hate that. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Spooky Sunday video. I hope you're having a really good day today, and if you're not, I'm sending you all my love and hopefully this video will cheer you up. If you are new here and you've never seen my face before, hello, my name is Khlo and I do spooky scary videos on Sundays. So if that's something that interests you, I'd love it if you would subscribe and stick around. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for joining me. I love you so much. But in today's video, we are going to be reading some stories about police officers that have had weird experiences, I guess. The title of the article is actually Law Enforcement Agents Share Their Creepiest Stories. So I thought it'd be kind of fun. So hopefully you like it. And without further ado, let's get on into today's video. Okay, I will have the source linked in the description as always, and like I said, the title is Law Enforcement Agents Share Their Creepiest Stories. And the first story says, The Disturbance That Wasn't. Not my story, but a good friend of mine was the youngest recruit to pass police training in the area for a long time. At 19, he was fresh onto the service. I went for a pint with him a week later, and you could tell he'd seen things, so I asked him what it was like. He told me about this one where they were called to a domestic. They got to the house and opened the door. Instantly, a whole load of sewer rats, not pet rats, flooded out, and there was no one home. The lights were on, the TV was on, but it was quiet, and the loud voices they heard arguing were just gone. The only life there were the rats that ran out of the house. They searched the house, every nook and every cranny, and found no one. He and his partner for the evening stayed around a while and waited to see if anybody came home, but after a few hours no one came. The neighbours couldn't even explain it, so they left. A few minutes later they got called to the same address again by a different person, stating there's a pretty heated domestic going on. This time they brought the dog squad to find people, but again the house was deserted. He said the freakiest thing was that the toilet had blatantly just been flushed and the kettle was boiling. The dogs found nothing as well. To this day he doesn't know what the fuck went on. I know the police pretty much throw you in at the deep end. I've got a friend who is recently a police officer and she was telling me some stories that she's seen whilst working so far, but that is so scary. I reckon it was a ghost. Maybe it was some ghosts arguing, and that's what everyone was hearing. Because the ghost can still like touch things, right? So they could have flushed the toilet and put the kettle on and whatnot. And why was there rats in there? What I would have done is I would have rang the landlord for that apartment and asked if anybody lives there, what their names are, anything like that. Because it's quite disturbing that people are arguing but no one's in there and rats came running out. Why were there rats in there? How did they get in there? Was the place dirty? I have so many questions about this story that I need answering. So if it was me, I would definitely need to try and get some of them answered. I would definitely ring the landlord to find out who lives there, if anyone does at all. The next one's called Christmas Eve Nightmare. My grandpa was a big Irish cop who started his career in Minneapolis in the mid-1950s. He always had the best stories to tell, but the one unexplainable one he tells me is that he got a call during Christmas Eve to a house with 6 bodies in it. Being the first responder, he speeds his way there and gets to the house. He walks in, gun drawn, only to find a family that looked like everybody had just had a long night and dozed off. He gets no response trying to wake them. He searches the rest of the house only to find a young teen girl in the bathtub with a single tear run down her cheek. Everybody seemed to have mysteriously died at once without any known cause, and he never found out what it was. When he said it looked like everybody had a long night and dozed off, I thought they were still alive, so that's why I was confused. But then obviously in the end of the story you find out that people literally looked like they died where they'd sat. The only thing I can think is that it was gas, because I'm pretty sure if you have a gas leak the chemicals just kill you, and I don't think you look like anything's happened. I'm not sure. Anybody that knows more on it, please comment down below. But I think when you are poisoned from gas, you can literally just die and it looks like you've fallen asleep and died. Because that's the only thing I can think of. That's the only explanation I have. But if you have any explanations, please drop them in the comments. I would love to read them. The next one is called Scarecrow. Dispatch gets a call from an older couple reporting there's a man standing in their backyard. It's later in the evening and obviously the older couple is freaked out a bit. Several officers show up, including my friend, who is a cop, and split into 2 groups heading around either side of the house. They emerge in the backyard, guns drawn, and they see a suspect and promptly order him to get on the fucking ground. Face first, hands behind his head. As they draw closer, he's not responding, and they realise he hasn't moved at all. Rewind 2 hours, and the suspect had robbed a 7-Eleven or something like that down the road and taken off on foot. As he entered the neighbourhood, he tried to cut through this older couple's backyard. When he went to hop the fence in the back, he slipped and impaled himself on a fence post. He couldn't pull himself off it, and his own body weight slowly drove him down the post. It had entered his groin and went straight up to his shoulder. He was literally a human scarecrow. Oh my god. Stop it! Stop it! That is so gruesome. That actually happened, because that is so gruesome. I hate that. I hate that. I hate it because it was really well written and I envisioned it, and it's just not something that I want in my brain, to be honest. Oh my god, I hate it. No, thank you. Let's move swiftly on to the next one. This one's called Mother of the Demon. This one time I went out on a call of a suspicious person at a house near where I was at. When I get there, the guy tells me that someone knocked on his door, and when he went to see who it was, there was a woman standing in his driveway with some sort of child-sized doll with horns, and it looked all bloody and cut up. So he asked the woman, who was looking away from him, what she wanted. She turned around and told him, "It needs food." Then started screaming at the top of her lungs and ran at him. So like a normal human being, he slammed the door in her face and called the cops. I get there and there are well-defined claw marks on his door. There's also a good bit of blood, I suppose from her fingers, so I call it out and start the search on foot. I also had 2 or 3 units driving around the area to see if they can find this chick. So I'm about a block away and we get another call that the woman is back at the guy's house, but in the backyard. So I run about a block back to the guy's house and bust into his backyard. The lights are out, so I have my flashlight out and I'm looking around. I see the chick hurdled in the corner next to a fucking evil looking doll thing, and I ask her if she's okay. She doesn't say anything. About this time, one of my mobile units came back to the house and parked his unit where the headlights were shining on her so we could see how scary this chick looked. She had long black hair, her clothes were rags, she had no shoes, clearly homeless, and she kept whispering things to the doll. So my buddy and I approached and I tried talking to her and she just kept whispering to the doll. Couldn't understand what the hell she was saying, so we decided to drag her out of there. The second we put hands on this chick, she went berserk, punching, kicking, slapping, all kinds of shit. So we were fighting with her, trying to get her on the ground, and she's not going down. This chick was strong as hell. In the fight, she somehow got away from us and was sitting in a crouched position with her head tilted to the side and making the creepiest growl / snarling sound I have ever heard. Then she screams at the top of her lungs and charged at us. So my buddy straight jabbed her in the face and knocked her clean out. We cuffed her and hauled her off to the hospital where she tested positive for PCP and various opiates. She was charged with battery of a police officer, resisting arrest and trespassing. Later she was institutionalized for some sort of mental disorder. Not quite sure what it was. My department didn't have anything to do with her after her booking into the jail. What? Fair play to the police officers for staying like professional 90% of it. They tried to help her, they tried to speak to her to see if she was okay, but oh my god, if it was me I would just be freaked out from the second that I seen her. The only thing I can think is that yeah, maybe she was on something and suffering from mental illness, or if we want to go down the spooky road we can say that maybe she was possessed by the doll. I would like to know if she had hurt anybody else or whether the man would have been the first victim if she was going to kill him to feed to the doll or whatever. She could have been possessed, guys. And then there could have been a demon in the doll. I don't know which theory I'm leaning more to. I could think logically and go with mental illness, maybe drugs, or I could be more into the spooky side and go with possession. I think both of them are good answers though. Okay, the next one's called A Most Bizarre Abduction. My old roommate's dad was a former naval officer and then FBI agent, 20 years into the Navy and 12 to 15 years or so in the FBI. One of his strangest stories was from his FBI days. I'll paraphrase it below. A kidnapping case. This girl disappeared from her grandparents' RV sometime between 5 p.m. and midnight. They were up front. Next thing you know, she's gone. She was supposed to be sleeping in the back. One stop at a rest stop. Then they were in stop and go traffic, so they figure she must have popped out the door at some point. This is near the California/Nevada border, so we meet them, talk to them. This is within about a day or so, and the girl is still missing. No sign of her. She was 15. Local PD theory is that she ran off because she's 15 and wants to get away from her lame grandparents for the summer, but there's a busted window, glass inside the vehicle, so we're treating it like a possible kidnapped person. After a few hours, there's a couple different theories on the case. One is that she ran off, the other is that she got snatched. Nobody's seen the girl in almost 2 days now, and disappearing in the desert for a young girl is tough. Next thing you know, we get a phone call. Naked girl, lost and confused, picked up by some trucker on a 2-lane road out there called Nipton. Runs into I-15 between Barstow and Vegas somewhere, right near the border. Matches our description. Me and 3 other guys head out to meet with the sheriff who's got her. Turns out she's our girl. She's fine, no rape, no bruises, no exposure, nothing. Completely healthy, completely fine. Even cleaned like she's took a shower. Won't tell us a damn thing. Doesn't remember a damn thing. According to her, 1 minute she's in the RV, the next she's naked walking down the side of a road in 100-degree heat. We talked to her for about 2 hours while her grandparents headed out to pick her up. We had our social services lady talk to her. Nothing. I've seen people hiding things. She wasn't hiding anything. She honestly didn't remember. Damnedest thing. Anyway, girl was found. She was fine. So we turned it back over to local PD to figure out what happened and determine if charges were pressed and all. I kept in touch with a guy I knew there because I was curious, and we were in a fantasy football league. A few months later, he tells me the parents sent the girl to a therapist to look for repressed memories, to make sure she wasn't raped or something. The therapist said she seems fine, but honestly has no recollection of her time at all, and doesn't think there's any point to devolving much further since she has no symptoms and is largely more confused by the reaction than the event. So to this day, we've got a busted RV window with glass on the inside, likely from a moving RV on a jam-packed freeway, likely in broad daylight or lightly fading sunlight, with 0 witnesses. A 15-year-old girl gets out or is taken out and is taken somewhere safe nearby for almost 2 days and then is stripped naked without being touched sexually, cleaned up and deposited on the side of a separate road a few miles away. She didn't have a drug in her system that we could detect. She remembers nothing at all. Nobody knows what happened to her or her clothes. It's been almost 20 years since this happened and I can't figure out what the hell went on with that girl. Still bugs me at night that I have no way to explain it aside from she lied the whole time. But I know liars and I'd bet money she wasn't lying at all. How creepy! I have a little theory. I don't know whether you will agree with me, but if you have any theories, please drop them in the comments. What if it was an alien abduction? Because you see that when people say their alien abduction stories, they say that they can never remember what happened, and you know, she could have been abducted by aliens. They could have done some tests, cleaned her, and then just dropped her back. That's the only theory I have. I know it seems a little bit out there, but if you have any theories, I'd love to hear them. I'm leaning against alien abduction. Could be. But that's the end of today's video. I hope you all liked it. If you did, please remember to smash a massive thumbs up. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, I will see you all soon. Peace.